IVM.
Hi, we're Team Splainer. Welcome to an all-new episode of Press Decode, a weekly podcast where we take Splainer's mission to declutter the news one step further. Check out our newsletter for more stories and follow us at SplainerIn to keep up with all the fun things we plan for our Splainer fam. So sit back, relax, and don't let the news give you the blues. I'm Adya, and I have with me Sarah and Vagda. Take it away, Sarah.
I'm Sarah. Some say I'm funny. Some others would say I am the joke. Well, I guess you can listen in and decide for yourselves.
I'm Vagda. I'm a lawyer and a morning person who struggles to sleep on time. Not irresponsible in any other sense, but I don't charge my phone until the 2% battery warning.
And I'm Adya, your host for the day. I'm the bubbly cheerleader friend who is constantly battling the stereotype that a vegetarian foodie is an oxymoron. We have 3 segments for you today. In our big story, we will look at a parliamentary committee's recommendation to ban virtual private networks, aka VPNs, and what that means for user privacy and free choice. In our Food for Thought segment, we will be talking about the widespread harassment of models, actors, etc. in the entertainment and fashion industry in reference to the inherently flawed power dynamic, like most recently in the case of Gérald Marie, former elite model management boss. In our final segment, Roast or Toast, we have some hot and steamy takes from, well, stick around to find out. All right, let's begin with our big story. So basically, like I mentioned, a parliamentary committee recently recommended a total ban on virtual private networks, aka VPNs. If this goes through, it'll hurt both our privacy as well as the data security of companies. What is a VPN, you ask, and how is it connected to our privacy? As the name suggests, it is a way for you to browse the internet with total privacy because it essentially jumbles up our data so it can't be traced back to our IP address and basically to us. So not even your Wi-Fi providers like your Jio, Airtel, etc. will be able to access your search. It's helpful both for huge companies whose employees are working remotely, especially like in this pandemic, and for us when we're sitting in places like cafes, using public Wi-Fi that may store sensitive information like banking details and other passwords. For most people around me that use VPNs, though, I know it is to access websites restricted in India. Guesses?
TikTok, obviously, only.
Pornhub.
Of course, that's the one. As well as Netflix, Hulu, etc. from different countries for a larger variety of content. I mean, I have friends who totally swear by VPNs. But welcome to yet another day in Modi's India. New day, new privacy restrictions. Is there anything new about it really, though? I mean, Sarah is fully irked by this potential ban because, they're banning this and banning that, and the reasons they give are never actually addressed post the ban. So who is it benefiting, if at all? And for example, the reason for this VPN ban is we want to stop terrorist activity. But you really think banning the use of VPNs is about to achieve that?
Yes, Adya, of course it is.
Wow. We'll see what you have to say about it, Sarah. Can't wait. But I mean, Vagda, I know you have a lot more thoughts on VPN usage in India generally and how harmful this ban may be. So why don't you get us started?
So, VPN usage can be clubbed in 2 main heads: personal or individual use and organizational use. Individuals use VPNs for many reasons, some of which Adya has mentioned, like to protect your data when you're using a public Wi-Fi network, like in a cafe or in an airport. These networks are notoriously unsafe, where your account passwords and browsing history are prone to theft. And so VPNs basically serve as private encrypted tunnels to use the internet. Most VPNs offer industry standard 256-bit AES encryption to secure you from anyone tracking your online activity. This can be absolutely critical to protect your data, especially during financial transactions, so that your sensitive elements like your passwords, etc. are not stolen, right? You could also use your VPNs to hide your data from your internet service provider. Without a VPN, an Airtel or a Jio can see exactly where, when, and what you browse.
I mean, think about it, guys. On a Jio network, you Google stuff like Eat the Rich. I'd like to think what they say.
Sarah?
Guys, it was a joke.
You can do better.
Ouch!
A
little chuckle was warranted.
Here, you got it. This is what you get.
No, I think it was funny. It's okay. Wait, I think we're just like getting used to your Modi bashing and
This
Ambani.
wasn't even at him.
It's kind of like the same, now at this
You
point.
said it, I didn't.
I'm reminded of that Kunal Kamra joke where he's like, मैं अंबानी को वोट क्यों नहीं दे सकता सीधा?
Fair enough.
Anyway, you can also use VPNs to ensure that your data is not being collected by any of the other data collecting apps looking at you, Facebook. And you could use VPNs to access your favorite shows
Brooklyn Nine-Nine Season 8.
and other geotagged websites and apps that are banned in your country.
Hello, PUBG and TikTok.
Hello, Pornhub.
Oh. Most companies in India use VPNs to secure their networks and digital assets from hackers, and they become especially important when employees work from home using their unsecured home internet connections. According to Forbes, nearly 30% of internet users use VPN at least once a month. 30% of all internet users. Honestly, try this experiment. Ask anybody you know who works in the corporate sector if they use VPN. Your most likely answer is going to be a yes.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I did this just yesterday. Some random person that I knew who works in the corporate sector said yes. One VPN provider, Atlas VPN, maintains a VPN adoption index dataset that ranks India at number 4 for VPN adoption, with 25% of the country's population using VPN in 2021. Surprisingly, this is up from 3% in 2020. I'm not sure what that
Wow.
means.
That's insane. I think it's like the work from home, probably. So a lot of companies began.
But 2020 also.
But that was 2022, 2022 as well. So I don't know.
I feel like people had hope then that this is not going to last very long. And now they're like, it is what it is.
That's funny.
Way of life.
Basically.
Yeah, way
Might
of
as well.
life. I mean, yeah, it does provide you a lot of privacy and everything, but it's not beyond all tracking. I mean, there are more than enough examples that law enforcement officers track down criminals despite their using VPNs to do their dirty work. There are many reports of VPN providers collecting user logs despite promising privacy. For example, there was this trustworthy VPN called IP Vanish. It had a no user logs policy, but in 2016, it was subpoenaed in a child pornography case, and the police were able to get access to the offender's user's logs. So basically, user logs were created despite promising privacy. So I don't know. Like, I'm not...
That's really good though.
It's not beyond tracking. It's not the same thing as dark web.
Yeah. And so, I mean, by this logic, VPNs should totally be allowed. Like now, even this like terrorist activity, whatever reason doesn't stand, because they can very easily.
Yeah, that you can anyway track.
Okay, even though Ragini isn't here today, Adya's A1 analysis of Sarah is fully irked by this potential ban is 100% accurate. Because, bhai, every second day we're down to banning something new. Our beloved nanny state, first rule, porn was bad for us because, well, while watching porn is not illegal in India, like we figured out in the Rajkundra case, but disseminating obscene content is. And pornographic websites were deemed guilty of that. Then it came to say, well, cryptocurrency is bad for you and looks to soon ban that as well. And this is despite the fact that over 1 crore Indians hold digital assets worth rupees 10,000 crore. Then there's obviously alcohol bans in certain states. And of course, the saga of censorship, which is not very different. I mean, the state just takes it upon themselves to decide what is right, what is wrong. And what blows my mind is the reasoning behind each of these range from unconvincing to straight up bizarre. The logic behind a possible crypto ban is that it is an unregulated market, which I get.
But like instead of banning, they could actually just look at regulating.
Oh, you mean logic?
What is this like?
Oh no.
Shucks.
Oh no.
Not them.
Lost you there, Adya. TikTok, on the other hand, was banned to make a major economic dent on China's economy after our darling neighbors decided to camp up in Ladakh. But that also didn't do very much to dent the company's success. Because despite both bans in India and the US, reports from just a week ago suggest that users spend more time on TikTok than on YouTube across both iOS and Android devices.
Wow. Wow.
Also, like
Applause.
TikTok reels are all over Instagram. So I don't like, I'm still like getting TikTok content, just not on TikTok.
Precise and just fair, like, confession. I was obsessed with TikTok when he came up and like said no. That was my only pandemic entertainment, man. I was personally bitter.
No wonder this is the reason your hate is
This is my origin story, guys. TikTok. So anyway, misdirected governance is a pattern. Even now with the VPN ban, the government conflates the dark web and the VPN, like Vagda like fleetingly mentioned. But to say that basically they say they can bypass cybersecurity walls and allow criminals to remain anonymous online. But again, as Vagda pointed out, the uses of VPN are far from being as sinister as imagined. And in the worst case scenarios, law enforcement agencies across the world have even found a way to work around it. So, and just to point out, in case someone's listening, the dark web, I have huge hopes that people are listening. Dark webs, in case our dear bros in the government didn't realize, can only be accessed by something called the onion router. VPNs, on the other hand, only give secure access to a normal and open internet. So it isn't nearly as shady as you think it is. So my great analysis, it's a whole case of a very strict and ill-tempered parent who refuses to see any other way but theirs is right. Because obviously they know best. But the point is, if any of you are friends with like people who have very strict parents, their kids are the sneakiest.
I know.
Like
boarding school kids. Sneaky man.
You weren't even with your parents. What?
This is why, because we're like, our parents have thrown us into this, and now we will be sneaky, and we will learn the ways of the world.
There's a boarding school kid if no one realized. So she's sneaky. So I mean, it's insane the way your brains work with scenarios and counter scenarios. It is beyond me, and I'm just saying, basically, this would then amount to nothing. I don't really know what our dear government gets out of this whole exercise.
I think we think of our government as like really stupid, but it's just a really smart way, because you think that this is to do something, but it's actually just to make it look like they're doing something about something. If there is terrorism or security issues that they want to tackle, what do they have to do? They have to look like they're doing something about it, which is like propose a VPN ban, which maybe likely they will not impose. Hopefully they will not impose, because there is such large industry that is dependent on it. You can't piss them all off. This is not a TikTok, where like the only people offended are Sarah and some 19-year-olds.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Yeah, like that's not going to make any difference, because they never banned any Chinese. I mean, they did a little bit about like steel exports, I think, but most of the import that was happening was happening. I mean, the Chinese imports. They didn't ban that. You need that for industry. You need that for like commerce. TikTok ban kar diya.
So misgovernance as a way to distract. That's governance.
Dude, they're like children in a classroom who are like trying to make the teacher think, the teacher here being us, that they're doing something, but they're actually being just sneaky.
Yes, but the teachers can see. We can see
know. I know. And they're like, oh, actually.
Sarah doesn't like this analogy.
Anyway.
My strategy from grade 10 can't be the government's strategy to governance.
But do you like the fact that we realized that your teachers knew what you were doing in 10th grade?
I mean, of course they did.
Sarah for Prime Minister.
Oh.
I'm ready.
Oh, okay then.
I'm ready.
Ab ki baar.
Okay, anyway, on that note, we come to the end of this segment. We will be back after a short break. You're listening to Press Decode on the IVM Podcasts Network.
From uncensored and unfiltered chats with the who's who of the entertainment industry, I, Siddharth Kannan, bring your very heartcake chat show called Candid Kannan. Tune in every Friday on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello and welcome back to Press Decode on the IVM Podcasts Network. We're Team Splainer, and make sure you follow us at SplainerIn on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with the Splainer fam. We are now ready for some food for thought. As mentioned earlier, we will be delving deeper into the power imbalance in the modeling and entertainment industries due to recent allegations against popular modeling agency Elite Model Management's former boss, Gérald Marie. This agency has discovered gems, guys, like Alessandra Ambrosio, Giselle Bundchen, and Cindy Crawford through their
Oh, wow.
annual event called Elite Model Look. And it represented everyone from Kendall Jenner and Naomi Campbell to Diana Penty, Irina Shayk, and Adriana Lima.
I only knew Kendall Jenner and Diana Penty. Oh, and Naomi Campbell also I knew.
All these are like Victoria's Secret models, right? Like Adriana Lima. And crazy. Anyway, so obviously with that creme de la creme reputation comes a hell of a lot of power that non-A-list models, especially and even A-listers can't really speak up against. Like Marie has already denied allegations from about 24 women who have spoken up about harassment over the years. 14 of them, though, have given testimonies this month. Even so, the non-profit Model Alliance's Respect program, built via input from about 100 models for binding standards relating to behavior, payment, rights, etc., has not gained enough signatures from bigwigs in the industry. Even though some models themselves have quit their agencies to represent themselves in a movement to garner more support for the well-being of their peers, there really isn't much compliance on the agency's parts, because what are they gaining from this, right?
They only lose from this.
Exactly. So this is a story of the Elite Model Management Agency that emerged in France and is now globally famous, leading to the seriousness of sexual harassment charges. But what about places like India that are probably faring far worse but are absolutely not addressed? Like Priyanka Chopra's Fashion is the only Bollywood movie I can think of on the fashion industry that shows the exploitation of models and the pressure on them. So today, we will delve into the modeling industry in India and also deal with the overall idea of these industries as being mentally exhausting, exploitative, and unfair to their people and their talent. I don't actually have much information on the Indian side, so Vagda, please take over.
I am afraid that the picture might be even bleaker on the Indian side because there is no regulatory body to oversee the modeling industry here. So it's really just like a jungle. We have instances of underage employment, sexual abuse, financial abuse, and plain old fraudsters taking you for a ride. First of all, there's this perception that modeling isn't even real work, that it's just easy, it's just an extension of dressing up and posing for pictures. There's
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I can barely pose, so what?
Like when we were younger, weren't you always like, oh, it's so easy, I just need to be look a certain way, and then it's easy to...
Yeah. Well, I mean, no one considers the odd hours or the networking that they have to do, or just
And
to
they're literally
look a certain
posing
way.
for hours on end, which is exhausting, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, exhausting. And then to maintain yourself like that also is extreme, it's a whole task.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't do that at all. I can't sit on a chair for 8 hours.
I know.
Okay, so anyway, there's a scholar, Manjima Bhattacharjee, who talks about this in her book, like this perception. She talks about, there's a book, her book is titled Mannequins, and it looks at the struggles and dreams of models from a feminist perspective. Now, she mentions that this perception that modeling isn't real work, it plays into people's minds when models demand timely wages or professional contracts or redressal for sexual harassment, and nobody really listens because no one takes it seriously. No one thinks that modeling is a job. There was apparently in 2003 something called the Indian Models Union that was created, but nothing happened of it. And then in 2018, Hindustan Times did a report on how a number of gullible modeling aspirants are just falling into traps by smooth-talking fake agents. And there are instances of paid auditions to fake photo shoots and aspirants being made to believe that they have to sleep with someone to get to the next step. And even when they're fleeced, people take money from them, say that, you're going to get to an audition or whatever. And these Like gullible aspirants would end up giving their money to these fake agents. And even when they're fleeced, like the aspiring models, they don't approach cops because they fear they'll be harassed or ridiculed, which is very much valid because as recent as in May 2021, an ex-model, Aparna Dubey, who faced sexual violence and abuse at the hands of like many influential people, including a celebrity photographer, over many years, she said that she'd been struggling to get an FIR registered with the Mumbai police.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like it's like people assume that because modeling, you're using your body. So they're like, oh, like you asked for it. Or like, oh, like that comes with the job.
I mean, it's true. There are boundaries that are blurry in modeling. That's why you need a regulatory body and like a proper contract, right? I mean, you have like this lack of say also. I'm talking about fake agents and stuff, but even the reputed agencies aren't that great. So if you think about the working conditions, there's a friend of mine who is a model and who is not a starry-eyed, naive kid nor uninformed about her rights, but she sent me her contract with a reputed agency just for my review. And you will not believe it. It had no rights for her. The agency could terminate the contract on many grounds, but she had no right to terminate the contract. There was no right for her to terminate the contract.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Like you can...
How is this okay? How is this fair?
I don't know. And
because there is no regulatory body.
And everyone can't afford a lawyer, right? To make sure that their rights are also fulfilled. I mean, that's the point of having an agency, right?
Everyone go be friends with one lawyer each. Magda, your mind.
These are like, as you said, these are like gullible aspirants. So obviously they don't know what they're getting themselves into, and then they don't have anyone to get them out of it.
Yeah, this is an unfair contract 101.
Yeah.
But like, what option does she have also, no? In the absence of an organization to represent her.
That's true, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it all comes down to like inherent power dynamics of the industry. The opportunities are limited and the work is extremely subjective. So if you start arguing your way into a contract or like argue about like some terms in the contract, there are plenty of people who can take your spot for much lesser, who will argue, not argue with the agency. And that's how your rights are not taken care of.
Wow. Anyway, I knew I was setting myself up for disappointment when we started speaking about this, and I still thought it would be fascinating or interesting at least to check out how the fashion industry works world over. Like, obviously, this current example aside, how does the industry actually function? And well, on paper, it does seem moderately better than India, but the problem is still, like we're talking about, right? The culture of the industry itself makes it very easy for sex abuse to be rampant. A former casting director describes the culture in fashion as, in fashion, you could be in a room with 6 abusers at once and they're all covering each other's backs. And that's the thing, right? Gender politics and the sheer privilege of masculinity allows for a culture of like male predator and a female prey to be normalized and heck, even thrive.
Yes.
The disparities are blatant, be it the pay gap or like the chummy bro behavior where, like he said, everyone just has each other's back, even if you're an abuser.
Oh.
And now, despite this, back in 2017, shortly after charges of sexual assault against Harvey Weinstein came to light, even the fashion industry had its moment of reckoning. So in 2018, a model, Cameron Russell, who has been the face of Prada, Calvin Klein, and has walked the ramp for Chanel and Victoria's Secret, took to her Instagram and brought the Me Too campaign to the fashion world by asking her fellow models to write in their own stories of exploitations. And boy, she got so many. She then anonymized them and posted it under the hashtag, "My job should not include abuse." It's such a basic, I mean, to begin with, very hard-hitting thing, but it's also such a basic want and need.
Yeah. It's the
it should be ground zero, but apparently not.
Yeah.
It's like your job description has abuse written in it.
Exactly.
And that's what the hell, man.
And even before this, a NYC-based advocacy group called the Model Alliance, which even Adya referred to earlier, was founded in 2012 by Sarah Schiff, who, along with other models, aimed to promote fair treatment, equal opportunity, and sustainable practices in the fashion industry. I think what really alarmed me was in both of these and their mission statements, these weren't given. This wasn't part of the industry. Like fair treatment, equal opportunity, don't abuse me. And it's just very basic needs. Anyway, thanks in large part to the support of the Model Alliance and the Me Too movement, models were finally flipping over the power dynamic for a reckoning on their own terms. And it has definitely paid off to some extent. Like, I can't deny that. Ahead of the New York Fashion Week in 2018, for example, the industry saw new professional guidelines that required designers, show producers, and photographers to provide spaces where models can change in privacy at runway shows.
Oh my God, this has to be written down in a guideline?
Yeah, I can't believe they don't have privacy to change. Excuse me.
Yeah.
This is very upsetting.
This was a big moment in the industry, guys. Or Condé Nast, for example, unveiled a code of conduct that sought to safeguard the dignity and well-being of workers. And to do so, it banned the use of unaccompanied models younger than 18, and all shoots involving nudity or sexually suggestive poses mandated prior approvals and consent. So yeah, the bar is very low.
That's something.
But it is interesting to see that there was some change made. But
it's better than India.
That is true. But the point is, it is all still work in progress because, I mean, other than the case that we're talking about, even as recently as in Feb this year, there have been new allegations against a top American fashion designer, Alexander Wang, who has once again, unsurprisingly, denied all allegations. So yeah, it just never ends.
Day in and day out, it's a new day. And it's a new privacy concern.
Yes.
With that, we come to the end of our second segment. We will be right back after a short break. You're listening to Press Decode on the IVM Podcasts Network.
Hey everybody, it's been a great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On the season finale of Getting Meta, Chuck speaks to social service activist Srini Swaminathan about how he completed 28 cycling marathons despite having asthma. On Candid Kanan, ex-Big Boss contestant Ali Goni opens up to Siddharth about his relationship with Jasmine and how it was received at home. On Shunyavan, Shiliditya and myself speak to Kirti Jangra, co-founder and COO of Animal Technologies, about the journey of this cattle trading platform. Yeah, it's a cattle trading platform. Really interesting. Do check it out. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth tells us about the design interface lessons we are learning from Zoom. And on Hansvani, listen to a beautiful ghazal titled Ghar Badal. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of the shows on the IVM network for that matter, please do tell a friend. We really appreciate that. And finally, I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Fiat Cred, Banco Baroda, Quarter, and CoinSwitch Kuber. We really do appreciate the support.
Welcome back to Press Decode on the IVM Podcasts Network. It's time for our final segment this week, Roast or Toast. And as I said, we do have some steamy takes. Unfortunately, I'm not the one with those. So I will just start us off with the least favorite item this week. Because as you can tell, I've been sort of the grump of this episode so far.
Glad to give it away for at least a week.
Sarah, it's going to be you next week, don't worry.
That is true.
According to new research, every extra hour of TV between the ages of 30 and 50 can actually shrink your brain. Can you believe that? It can literally shrink your brain.
You know, when I first read this, I thought that it might be dependent on what kind of TV you watch. I mean, if it's extremely passive, then yes, but not otherwise, right?
If I'm watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I don't think it's a very active part of my brain watching it. So, and that's what I would watch, I'm not about to watch Nat Geo, please. Anyway, it is linked to...
So judgmental.
It was linked to... I told you I'm feeling grumpy today, so... It was linked to a 0.5% reduction in grey matter volume, which is typically a sign of declining brain performance.
Oh,
Okay, I'm still in my early 20s, but it's so annoying that everything I love is bad for my body. At least let me have this. But of course not. That's all. That's
I want to know what is an extra hour. With every extra hour of TV, what is the good amount of TV then?
1 hour of TV, which I used to watch as a child. That's good.
Okay.
Weren't you in a hostel? Kahan 1 ghanta?
until I was 9 years old, yeah. And then,
Anyway. Well, I'm surprising everyone and I'm on the happier side of things. But this item from last Thursday had me in splits. It's really stupid, but it's the coolest thing you're ever going to hear of. Anyway, researchers basically discovered the first documented instance of an Australian musk duck imitating sounds, and this included human speech. They are now the only other species apart from songbirds, parrots, and hummingbirds that can mimic what they hear. Now, I'm going to link a video of the talking duck named Ripper, who could vocalize lots of things, including a very useful phrase, "You bloody fool." Exactly how he says it. I have heard it on loop. It is by far the best thing on the internet because
that's so good.
"You bloody fool," which he likely probably heard from his caretaker. But to make the story even better, he apparently made these sounds during aggressive mating displays.
Yes.
You bloody fool!
Go you, Ripper.
So the recordings are from 1987, but they've just surfaced online and they're a damn treat. So I suggest everyone, please go watch it.
Call them a fool, but in a musk duck's voice. Make it better.
Okay. So my work week began with just the perfect news item. Have you guys heard of the Ig Nobel Awards? It's the awards that honor the most bizarre and quirky advances in science. So the medicine prize for research went to a professor who suggested sex with orgasm is an effective nasal decongestant.
I have so many things to say to that.
So many.
And he first developed this suspicion based on self-observation.
Okay.
Best kind of research.
So I feel like men can mostly have their noses decongested. I doubt women will be able
Oh my god.
Hot takes.
Well.
I was just going to say that I woke up with a cold on Monday, guys, but I have self-observed this research to be very well recognized.
Good for you, Magda. I always have a cold. Guess I need to do some research as well.
Same.
You should.
365 days, really.
Okay, Magda. Okay then.
So on that hot take note, that was our show this week. Thank you so much for joining us on Press Decode. You can catch us every Thursday on the IVM Podcasts Network. And guys, please remember, don't let the news give you the blues.
Eventually, you'll see the end of your childhood,
Get accustomed to womanhood.
enjoy the experience of sisterhood,
Might get to wifehood
or not, choose motherhood,
or not. You'll learn to define your personhood.
earn a livelihood,
Change the neighborhood.
and get rid of the falsehood that life post-academia is easy.
So join me, Natasha,
And me, Ayushi,
on a journey from station starting point.
to station, what now?
Next station, Pudin station, and hopefully Agla station, adulthood.
Fresh episodes out every Thursday.
Namaste, this is Cyrus Brocha. I am part of the government cancel culture program to remove rubbish off all the different streams available. So what we have is all the collected rubbish we put together on our show. It's called Cyrus Says. It's on IVM Podcast. You have to watch it and listen to it. It's on our app. It's on our website. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. There are many different ways. Don't bother me and ask me how. You have to find out. We talk to different personalities. Many of them are known. Some are just people we meet downstairs and invite them up for chai. But the point is, it's fun and it's very therapeutic. So please join in and listen to Cyrus Says.